All right, let's get started. Welcome to Relevant Insights, the podcast where we talk with interesting entrepreneurs, hiring managers, and simply awesome people that have created great careers for themselves. Today, we are honored to be talking with Anastasia. Wait for it, Chernikova. She is going to be. She is a we'll leave kind of the introduction to her, but she has a great career in journalism, and I can't wait to dig into everything behind her career, how she found herself in the U.S., and how she's been writing amazing content for really popular magazines and newspapers, etc. So, looking forward to this podcast. Now, everything that I'm doing on here, my cool welcome that I just did for Anastasia is done in a product called mmhmm.app. If you want to look good on video, go get it, and it will make you very compelling on video. All right, let's get started. Nadia, I see that you are here as well. Welcome to Nadia. She's always with us, obviously. She's one of our partners out in New York. Now, we don't have Fyodor today. So, Nadia, it's up to you and I to ask some really good questions of Anastasia to pull out kind of those relevant insights from her career so that our audience can kind of learn how to create an amazing career in the international markets. So, with that, I guess the first question is, Anastasia, what's your background? What you are from Russia, I know. But can you give us the background of what you did in Russia from a career perspective and then coming over to the US? That whole story is really very interesting.
Thanks for having me, guys. Thank you, and Troy and Nadia. I was born in Moscow. So until the last 5 years since I moved to New York, I was living in Russia, and I worked in journalism for business magazines like some of them you probably never heard about, some big Russian newspapers, and then some more international, like we have Esquire, GQ, Forbes in Russia. So I was writing for them as well. It was mostly tech companies, startups, but I was always interested more in the human side of it. Like I was traveling all around the country and even to Silicon Valley, to some like European countries to talk with founders, entrepreneurs, and learn about how they started doing what they did and how they got inspired with their project. So I was always interested about how they, like, what challenges they had on their way, and is it something they were born with, like they wanted to become entrepreneurs in the early age, or they developed their skills.
Hey, that's a great question to pursue. Is can it? I hear this asked quite often. Can those skills be developed, or is it something that you're just born with? And I think some of it you're definitely born with, and a lot of it you can develop. I think it's a mix. That's just my personal take. But yeah, what got you so interested in that human aspect of entrepreneurship? Because I know that you have. Can you explain a little bit about your current organization that you formed to kind of explore this human aspect of entrepreneurship?
Yeah, so I started the Vivid Minds. It's a media here in New York. We interview founders and creative leaders. So it's not only entrepreneurs, it's artists and filmmakers, people who I find personally interesting. And I just figured that when I moved to New York, the main asset for me and the main thing that was really I was inspired by the city was the people. And so I wanted to talk with them. I wanted to learn more about their challenges. And I just started doing it. So we started with my friends, and then I got connected to other people. And then I was doing some stories like when like Black Lives Matter was really huge. I was interviewing Black founders, and then I was interviewing a lot of entrepreneurs from all over, from Europe, Latin America. So also because
Oh,
I'm
cool.
from Russia, so I'm international, I find it really interesting to show different angles, different perspectives from founders in different countries.
Awesome. Awesome. Now, sorry, I wanted to put myself large here. The reason being is I want to make sure that I got this right. It's the Vivid Minds, right? Is
Correct.
that And is
.com.
it
Yeah.
.com? Okay. So I love this name. I think it's really a cool name because you're delving into the human aspect and it's all about what goes on up here. How do we deal with adversity? How do we deal with success? Like all of that stuff is going on between here. And I truly believe that so much in life is determined between these 2
The
points,
mindset. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You know, what makes someone successful versus not, and all of that stuff. I think there's a lot of external factors, but I think one of the biggest controlling factors is right here. And it sounds like your exploration that you're doing in the Vivid Minds is delving into that, which is really compelling. I can't wait to, is it in Russian or English though?
It's in English.
Oh,
Yeah.
good. I was like, I can't wait to delve into that and kind of listen to it, your interviews and kind of learn from that. So thanks for sharing. Awesome.
Question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm curious, what are the main challenges entrepreneurs are facing? Maybe top 3 challenges that you hear the most and they share the most?
So I'd say that challenges are different depending on the business, obviously, and what they're doing. There are some very similar traits that help them overcome challenges, which I actually was just thinking about lately, and I was writing an article on it because I realized I've interviewed over 100 founders over this
Wow, that's
and
awesome.
yeah, I was just trying to, because I was also going back and forth about this question that we talked before, like what if those skills were developed later, they were born with them, and how those people actually become successful and leaders. Um, yeah, so fundraising is really important and hard, and I've heard stories about how founders were really exhausted and they had to take some time off after they fundraised for like a month or two. And then finding a partner is really important. Some of them have tried working with a partner, it never worked out, so they decided to go just on their own. But I believe that it's kind of, finding your husband, like your partner in life.
Yeah.
It's that difficult to find your partner in business. And then just motivating people and hiring people. So people is obviously like the really important, the most important asset, I would say. So just connection with interesting people and then trying to bring them into your company and to just inspire them with their ideas so they get motivated. This is really it's also a big challenge for many.
Wow. Yeah, those are some skills and some capabilities that are extremely important in entrepreneurship. Raising money is a very common one. In fact, we have a challenge, a climb, a 21-day climb that's focused on raising money for your startup, how to pitch it effectively, how to really be effective in that process of raising money. It's very, very difficult. And I think many of the skills that you need to raise money don't necessarily come naturally. And
Yeah.
they're skills that you have to kind of develop. And so as new entrepreneurs, and I've definitely been in that camp before, where you really don't know exactly what to do, but you kind of just do things and fumble along. And that's what makes it so difficult. It's difficult even when you feel like you know what you're doing. I don't believe that anyone truly knows what they're doing, but 100%. But when you feel competent, it's very difficult, and when you don't have the skills that you need to do it, it's even harder. And then on the people front, that's been one of the things that I've seen in my career that is probably the most important thing that like a CEO does or a founder is building out a world-class team that wants to work on the same things that your company is all about, right? Like motivating people to be so excited about the mission and what's going on. And I've been really fortunate in my career to work with Phil Libin, who is a pretty famous CEO in Silicon Valley. And I literally was watching something yesterday, an interview he did with a major publication yesterday, or it was a video. And as I was watching him speak about what we're doing at I was getting so motivated and excited and everything. And I said, that is the quality that CEOs need to bring to the table. Because by the time he was done speaking, I was like, yes, that's the mission. That's what we're doing. So yeah, that's really cool
It's
that
really
you're
important,
seeing.
and you always compete for the best people if you want to have a great company. So money at some point, you can't really, buy people for money because they're cool, they want to do something inspiring. So you can only just make them believe in this idea and they want to be involved in it.
Absolutely. That's so true. Yeah, that's great. And that's a difficult talent. It's a difficult skill to figure out how to motivate a broader team. And as your team grows, it becomes exponentially more difficult to keep everyone on that same wavelength of motivation, right? Yeah.
It's also a very different scale, right? When you manage 3, 5 people and then 100 people, it's just you start building your company culture. You're not able to connect with everyone. You have managers, like top managers, and you need to communicate your values, which is really important.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great.
That's great. Yeah. And I know that you yourself also now are hiring people, because we usually talk with people who've been hired, right, Troy, for the international companies. And you went even deeper. So you launched your own company here in the US. You are an entrepreneur yourself. So maybe we could talk about it a little bit more. How was it? How you decided to do that? And was it easier here rather than in Moscow, let's say?
Yeah, so I have this very two different personalities in me. I would say journalist and entrepreneur, they're very different. And then as a journalist, actually, I was, it was funny. I was talking with my colleagues and my co-workers, journalists, and we didn't like business at all. Like we were writing about entrepreneurs, but we were always feeling that it's cooler to write about some social issues, arts, So it's like these people, they want to make money. It's not like why we even
it was just a job to you, right? Like
yeah. So it didn't seem like even I would interview them sometimes, and I get really curious. But at first, I'm always skeptical, which is actually a helpful quality for journalists. But it's not like I get inspired. I'm thinking, okay, he's just talking with me, so he wants to get the good press, and I'm not his PR manager. So I was always on the opposite side, trying to ask this hard-hitting questions and just getting into something. And my editor, he's like one of the best editors in Russia. He's writing non-fiction books now. He was always saying that if you publish something and nobody got hurt and upset with you, then it's just a bad job. Like, you have to dig into something, and
there's always things to uncover, right?
Yeah, correct. And so then I moved to New York and I started my company here. It was really hard to be a journalist because obviously English is not my native language. And even for Americans, like I was talking with Americans here, and many of the people I talked to as like contributors, not staff journalists, they were moving out of New York because it's so hard to pay the rent here and just, make money on writing. So I started my marketing agency, and I was doing events at first. I was helping entrepreneurs. My friends from Russia, they just wanted to build their networks here. And so I realized that it's actually not that easy as I was thinking. It's very different when you're a journalist and you ask questions and you see these people happy, kind of not caring about politics. Especially in Russia, it's really hard to be involved in these social issues like political, because you may be banned, you may be, I don't know, got into jail or something. And it was always feeling like they're doing something, but it doesn't make that sense. And again, in Russia, it's a bit different from the US. It's less focused on mission and some to make the world a better place. And actually, when you live in Russia and you read these articles and think about it in the US, you're like, wow, these guys don't really know, like they have so much time that they just writing about their missions and so on. While in Russia, people just trying to survive, so that's different kind of attitude and perspective. But when I started my business here, I realized that it's so hard. Like every step, every day, you do something new, and every step you're making. So I started appreciating people who I don't know, when I see people who manage 10 people now, and I just had my company, like I hired three people, and it was already hard for me to manage three. And I was like, wow, 10, and how can they do when they have like 100 employees? So yeah, I just started appreciating those things.
That is so neat to hear about your journey from journalist to entrepreneur. And you're so right that journalists need to be skeptical and kind of a little negative in a way, right? Like what's the negative side to the story? Obviously, there's positives that the entrepreneur's communicating. But when you jump into the world of entrepreneurship, you have to ignore and push away so much negativity, right? It's kind of almost the opposite, where you need to kind of lead the team with this big positive, and it's hard, right? Because not everything is positive, and there's always negatives, there's always challenges and things like that. I guess I would ask, as you've been doing your entrepreneurial journey, what have you learned as an entrepreneur that makes you really appreciate the people that you interviewed before? Over 100 founders, right? What makes you appreciate them a little bit more now that you know the struggles of being an entrepreneur?
So now I think that these people are real risk takers, which I really appreciate. When I even like meeting now with different people, I would talk with them, and if they tell me that they started something new or they're going to start something new, I understand how hard it's going to be no matter what they start. Like there's no easy business,
Yeah.
And some people, I would say almost like every person who never started their business, they would see, they would hear the stories and they would say like, okay, it was luck. Okay, it was something like he was born with this money from his family. Or
Yeah,
something.
totally. Yeah.
So you can always find something to say why he's not that cool, why he's not like, I don't know, why it's not important. You can always kind of devaluate that. But when you started doing it yourself, like I started doing it, I see people now, and I'm always thinking that there is an easier path. You can just. It's also hard to get into some, like, I don't know, to get a corporate job, but it's at least the path there would be more understandable. Like you have this routine, you have to send your CV, you can hire some, I don't know, consultant who would help you to get the job, just
Yeah.
get referrals. So you kind of have this guidance and agenda what to do. But while doing a business, you never have this agenda. You just have to create your own way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Like a
definitely
real journey. Like you gotta dig in yourself,
Yeah.
the ways, and yeah, that's quite a journey.
Yeah, and you never know. Even if your business is going well, like let's say I was working with a travel company and they were doing really well, and then the COVID happened and nobody
oh,
with COVID.
yeah.
And
And
so
then their business disappeared, right?
yeah,
Yeah. That's true. You never know what outside force can come in and kind of change everything for your business. So I
yeah,
think one of the things that I like about entrepreneurs, and I think is a critical requirement almost for entrepreneurs, is a couple things. I was going to share this when you were talking about how they're risk takers. And this is kind of something that we talk a lot about at Relevant. Our tagline is do things. And I think that is the critical difference between an entrepreneur and a lot of other people, is that entrepreneurs have to do new things every day and figure out the path forward. And that's really what we're talking about. Nothing new happens in the world unless people take risks and people do something that may not be accepted as the normal practice or whatever it may be, right? That's
yeah,
what an entrepreneur is. And I think that that's something that I appreciate immensely in entrepreneurs. As I talk with other entrepreneurs around the globe, that seems like a common thing. And then the other thing is resilience,
yeah,
because I think an entrepreneur is just getting hit in the face every day, right? Like it's things happen that don't go your way, and the ability to bounce back and reset and remember that mission, remember the driving force behind what you're doing, that it's worth it, and then keep going and keep pushing. Never take no for an answer, right? Like those are the kind of entrepreneurs that I see that become really successful. Is they weren't necessarily there's some element of timing, luck, but there's no element of just being lucky or yeah, that person came from money or whatever those excuses are that we all try to kind of throw out there to diminish people's success. I think resilience is so important to entrepreneurship.
I agree. And then all these responsibilities, like starting from hiring one person and you need to pay the salary every month, like no matter what, if you want to get some vacation, you want to, I don't know, you're tired of your business, you have to do it.
Yeah. That makes me think about, I've heard Phil Libin talk about this many times, and I love the way he talks about this. And he says that the main kind of role of a CEO is to insulate the employees from the craziness of entrepreneurship. So the CEO has to deal with funding, paying the paychecks, dealing with taxes, all these different things that you insulate your employees from so that your employees are comfortable and know that they are going to get their paycheck and they can just kind of work and produce great work. And when he talked about it in that way, I really had a lot of, it's almost emotional. It's kind of like, thank you, to the CEO or to that high level person that has to take on all of that stress and anxiety and all that stuff to let us work and do our job with excellence. I think it's an important role. And I'm so thankful that there are people in the world that do that.
Yeah, that's really cool. And I'm also just get inspired by people who are passionate about what they do, and that's how most entrepreneurs, not all of them, but most of them, they just can't. It's hard to deal with your business, to keep it going every day if you don't like it and you're not passionate about it.
That's definitely true. Definitely true. It's not fun if you don't truly believe in what you're doing. That becomes old really quick. That's for sure.
Yes. And I'm wondering, what did you learn during your entrepreneurship career? Maybe you can name a few things that came to your mind first.
Yeah, I mean, I'm learning every day. I always every day I'm always amazed by how different I am from my life as a journalist. And another difference I can tell you, when I was working for business magazines in Russia, I was reading a lot of self books to review them, so there was a book coming out and I had to read it and review it. And I was doing it and I was thinking, wow, it's so stupid. Like, it's just full of bullshit, to be straightforward, because you can't relate, you just read about it, you just pick some stuff and you think it's kind of repetitive sometimes, because again, even when you asking me about the challenges, trade, it would be still common, right? So there would be some similarities, but these books become really helpful when you are in it. Once you become entrepreneur, you just start reading these books, you kind of feel that you need them.
And then they speak to you, right? Like more directly.
Yeah, and different books and different stages are helpful. Like sometimes you would just feel that you need to dig into this and then another book. And so it's not like that when you're journalist. It's very different. You just writing that and you're thinking why those people would read that, and not like, I don't know, Dostoevsky, Tolstoy, some really cool books.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's
so
definitely
you're actually learning by doing things.
Yeah, I think I learn every day. Like when I talking with the people I work with, I don't even like calling them my employees, but just people who I'm happy they got inspired by my idea. I'm happy to work with, and sometimes they would say that I'm kind of too, I don't know, that I'm rude sometimes. Also, especially when you work with Americans, Russians seem to be very strict.
there's a cultural difference, right, between Russia and I first had to learn that when I worked with Dmitry Stavisky at Evernote. He was my boss.
Yeah, I know him. Yeah,
he's a great guy, and I call him a big teddy bear now. But back when I first met him, because of the cultural differences, I was always wondering, oh, am I doing okay? Exactly. Americans, I think, are softer.
Yeah, I learned a lot about cultural differences here. So I think Nadia, you asked me about my entrepreneurial journey. I think if it was in Russia, it would have been very different. So here I'm also learning to navigate between what I want to say and how I should say. And so people will get motivated and they wouldn't be upset about me. So
yeah,
yeah,
that's a tough one to navigate because of that cultural difference. And yeah, humans are humans and have feelings, right? And we have different feelings in different cultures based on how we talk or what we say, right? So that's definitely something that is good to learn.
But I can tell you, I work with many people who would say that, Americans, they would say, I don't like Americans. All my friends are international. So, they kind of tend to connect with me better. I don't know why.
Yeah. You'll definitely find people that skew more that way. I think the important thing is, at least from my perspective, is to be candid and open about issues. I think that's one of the things that we in America have a difficult time doing, is hitting an issue straight on, right? And not kind of talking around it, but just being direct and saying, this is an issue, we need to correct it.
Yeah.
And this is what I expect, right? Sometimes I think in America, a lot of people feel that that's too direct. But in business, especially startups, doing it that way and getting your employees conditioned for that kind of discussion, I think is very, very helpful. I have a question. I don't want to embarrass you, but I'm going to pull up something here that I think is really cool from your LinkedIn.
Ooh.
My articles have been published in Forbes, Esquire, and GQ in Russia, and cited by Business Insider, Inc.com, and other magazines in the US. That is pretty darn cool. I want to ask you, tell us about the first time as a journalist. You probably went to school for journalism or language or something, and then
I did not.
Oh, you did not? Okay, so tell us that story, how you got into journalism. But I want to know what that feeling was like when you first got published in a recognizable magazine or newspaper. I'd love to hear about that. Your journey to become a journalist, and then that first time that you saw your writing actually in the wild, out in the world.
Yeah, so I majored in sociology from university in Moscow, and I was thinking about getting my master's degree in journalism, and then I just looked up all the people I was fascinated by their writing, their works, and almost none of them graduated from a journalism school. So, even here in
That's
the
all
US,
you need to know, right?
yeah, if you check like New Yorker journalists, and I still like New Yorker is my favorite magazine here. They mostly have studied either political sciences, philosophy, or some just social sciences. So I really believe that being a good journalist is more about some skills like curiosity and your interest in people. That you can develop yourself, and then just working on your style by reading a lot, which is more helpful sometimes than going to a journalism school. I think there are different ways of doing it, but I was studying just social sciences, and then I was just posting on Facebook. I think I'm trying to remember how it all started. So in Russia, Facebook is kind of LinkedIn. LinkedIn is blocked in Russia till now.
I see.
But all the work connections, business connections you have on Facebook. And at some point when it just started, it was like people who enjoyed writing, they started posting a lot on Facebook. And so then other people who they would like their writing, they can just, at that time, there was no following button, but they could just become friends on Facebook. And then I had some people reading me. And also LiveJournal. Do you know LiveJournal, the blogging platform?
Yeah. You were writing on that?
Yeah, I was writing there too. And then at some point, a friend of mine invited me to his small startup. He wanted to start a media about actually social media, like talking about Facebook. Facebook just opened in Russia. They just started working there. And then we had Kontakte, the Russian social network, and some other. So he was just interested in this new media field, and he wanted someone to write. So at first, I was just reading a lot American publications, just combining, kind of getting news from there, because the market was way forward than the Russian market. So I was writing like the news, because there was still, and I mean now it's normally people read in Russian, even if they, they can read in English and they speak English, but they would still read news in Russian. So I was translating a lot, and then I started interviewing people, and then I had the editor-in-chief there. But in a month, I just started working there, and in a month, she said that she was going to go to a bigger publication because they gave her an offer. And so they asked me to be editor-in-chief just because they didn't have anyone else there. And so that was that was my first job. The company was small, but they gave me some money and they asked me to bring new people there. So I actually, in like, I don't know, 2 or 3 months, I hired 3 other writers, and then we got the newsroom of like 5 editors. I was editor-in-chief, and then 4 other editors. And so it's funny, that I started as editor-in-chief, and then at some point in 2 years, I realized that I actually need like better experience, better skills. So I wanted to go work with someone who is more experienced, some really good editor who used to work for different big publications. And because I love journalism also because you always may know like who you want to work with, because you can read their writings, and there would be different styles. So I just found one editor that I really wanted to work with. And he, at that time, he published a book, very successful book. He also sold his rights to create a movie. It was called Doers Code, like about the founder of Contact and Telegram. You know Telegram, right?
Yeah.
Right. So the founder of Telegram, my former editor, was writing a book about that guy. And I wrote a review, and I really, because I wanted to, I'm not sure if he knows that, but yeah, I really wanted him to notice that review. But I also really loved the book. So I wrote a cool review, and he posted it on Facebook saying that, wow, that is a really cool review on my book. Like she spotted, like, right, she just got it. Yeah. And then he read my articles, and at some point his publication was called Hopes and Fears. At that time he was editor-in-chief there. He invited me to talk with him, and asked me if I wanted to get the job. So I started working with him as business editor. And then
that's so cool.
Yeah, so that was Hopes and Fears, very cool business publication in Russia. It's closed now. They merged with The Village, another one, which still exists. But there were recent years, many publications just were shut down, and it's really hard to work in media in Russia now. But speaking about my quotes that you just featured there, Business Insider, and so I was. Again, because I didn't have the journalism school, I was doing many things on a whim and just trying out, just thinking whether it works or not. And at some point when Pavel Durov started his Telegram, I reached out to the WhatsApp founder, asking him what he thought about this Telegram messenger, because at that point, people were using WhatsApp in Russia.
Yeah, right.
And I didn't think, it was really something important. He's such a cool guy. It was before he sold WhatsApp to Facebook, so it was 10 years ago, I don't know, something like that.
Yeah.
And I reached out to him, and he emailed me back with his comment right away, I don't know, in an hour maybe. And I just put this comment in my article, and then every Russian publication cited it, all the big publications, all the national.
So you got the scoop. You got the nugget.
Also because Jan Koum, the founder of WhatsApp, I appreciate him. I'll tell you later. I met him after that as well, and I think he's a really cool guy, because it got harder after Facebook bought WhatsApp, because they had all this PR department and all these guidelines how to talk with the press. But at that time, he emailed me something like, Telegram sucks. It would never be that cool as WhatsApp.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And he was like, they just stole, like look at Contacte. They just stole everything from Facebook. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm rephrasing. I don't remember exactly, but that's the sense of
It was very opinionated, it sounds like. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So I put it there, and all the publications just cited me. And my founder of this small publication where I was editor-in-chief, he was like, "Wow, you're so cool." And I was like, "Why?" I didn't even understand at that time that it was really cool when other publications start citing it. You know?
Yeah, you didn't even know that was a really cool thing.
Yeah, the only thing I was looking at was our views, like readership, because that's what they told me. Like the guys, they put, I don't remember the extension, but they asked me to put some extension in my browser, Chrome, and it showed real time how many readers we have.
Ooh.
And I never stopped, like just finished the day before the number was what I needed, you know, like. I would put this bar, like saying that, okay, now we need, I remember there was at some point, there was like 5K a day. So I needed 5,000 a day. And I would always post something else if we still didn't have this 5K.
Ah, interesting. So you were looking at that number as your metric and creating content to get there. Interesting. Yeah.
And so then after there was this news that was already later when I became like I already understood what the scoop is and why it's cool to be the first to interview someone. And so there was the news that Facebook was gonna buy WhatsApp for 18 billion,
I think.
18 billion, yeah. And they were gonna to announce this on stage in Barcelona. Zuckerberg, together with Jan Koum, the WhatsApp founder, they were going to announce it at the mobile, what's it called, the biggest event.
The World Mobile Congress in Barcelona, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I really wanted to be the one to interview Jan Koum about all of that. And I messaged him on Facebook saying that, I'm that girl who spread all the commentary everywhere at that time. Can you please just give me the interview since we already connected? I don't remember, but something like that.
Yeah.
And he was like, I don't think he agreed right away. It was something like I was messaging him, and then maybe the next day as well. But at some point he said, "Okay, can you come to Barcelona? We are going to do a talk there." And then he messaged me. It's also my birthday, so do you want to go to the party? Where,
really? Yeah. That's great.
and I was telling my editor, and he was like, "Are you sure it's him?" Like,
right. Is this a joke or
something like that. And then I was like, "Oh my God, I'm going there. Zuckerberg and Priscilla are going to be there. All the cool people." And I flew into Barcelona. I bought tickets. It was like 2 days before the event, I think. And so he messaged me something like the PR team, Facebook PR team, said that they didn't want. It's not a good idea to have journalists at the private event. I mean, he said that of course we're still meeting for the interview. We can do it tomorrow, but
no party
tonight. Yeah, sorry, like the guys. And I don't know, again, because maybe I wasn't really into this. Well, I understand. So it's another question about the journalism ethics, right? So for me, the ethics is like when you okay, so it's very compound, but I was gonna say that like my editor always taught me that the main thing is to get the news, and you need to do it like whenever you can, and just to try to do everything you can about it. So I started being something like I don't think I would write something like that now, but I started messaging Koum like, "But you promised me, you said I would go to this."
So you got dramatic. Yeah.
I was like, "Wow, no, I flew in tonight for this birthday. I could have flight tomorrow. The ticket would have been cheaper, and I flew in today for this." And she was like, "Okay, do you want me just to come and we can sit somewhere like near your hotel and talk about this tonight since you..." So I'm just saying that he's really the guy. He's also from Ukraine, from the Soviet.
Oh, he is. Okay, cool. Yeah.
And he's very like, he has his principles, So I guess if he promised something, he would follow it, and he just can't do it another way. Yeah. But so anyway, that day I was like, "No, you already said I can't go, so let's just do it tomorrow. Never mind. I'm upset." Something like that. And then tomorrow we met at the event, and there were so many just like PR guys all around, because Zuckerberg was announcing it on the stage, and there was actually a line of journalists who wanted to interview Jan Koum, but I just messaged him on Facebook saying, "Okay, I'm here. Can we?"
Yeah, I'm here. Can I come to the front?
Yeah, and that's exactly how we did it. Yeah, so I came there, and another thing that I really enjoyed about him, that he was answering all the questions, and then I already got used to the idea that normally newsmakers, like speakers, they would ask you to send you in advance, especially if they're big guys. And I was like, "Do you want me to send it now?" I don't even know. Normally, I would never ask that, but I kind of was so just intimidated with all this crowd and so on. And I really appreciate that he gave me the time. And he said, "No, these are my words. Why would you send it to me? Like, I told you, I know that what I told you. So it's just go publish it." And it was really cool. So I published the interviews, and then the next day it was picked up by Business Insider and Info. So somehow they found it in Russian and they translated.
Oh, they translated it actually. Wow. Yeah.
There was one thing I was asking him because he tweeted before that he hated being called entrepreneur. And I asked him why he hated being called entrepreneur. Which was also interesting for me because, I was that kind of creative girl, journalist, thinking that entrepreneur sucks. And Jan Koum, he was also that kind of more introvert, software engineer, building the product. So he didn't like all this business stuff.
The business stuff, yeah. He was product, yeah.
Yeah, and so those media, the Business Insider and some others, they quoted this question about him responding to why he didn't want to be called entrepreneur.
Wow.
But again, at that time, I didn't realize that it was cool. In Russia, it's not that huge, like media, not that huge as here in the US.
Yeah.
Even after I come here, I was like putting all this on my LinkedIn and other, like, some bios everywhere saying that I was featured there and there. In Russia, it was like, I'm not bragging. Why would I say that they cited me? Okay, it's cool, but I don't want to, just...
Yeah, but in America, when people see that, it's like me, when I saw it, I was like, "Oh, wow, like that must feel really cool."
Yeah,
but it's kind of funny because you came from Russia, you didn't even feel as excited maybe as an American would, right?
I remember I posted that on my Facebook because at the time I was already posting everything, all my articles and so on. I posted that the screenshot from Business Insider with my name there.
Yeah.
And then I felt so like not bad, but again, like I'm bragging.
Like you're bragging, yeah.
Like it's not about my job, like my interview. People read it, it's cool, but they cited me. It's just their job that they like. Why would I be proud of that?
Yeah. Well, here's the big takeaway that I thank you for telling that story. That is so cool about how you got started in journalism. You didn't go to school for it, but you figured it out. And again, we go back to this concept, and I think that this is so true of so many cool entrepreneurs is just doing things. And it doesn't have to be entrepreneur. This was you in your career. Like you were developing a career in real time by actually just going out and doing things, experimenting. And another theme that I see that came through what you did is you clearly would not take no for an answer. Most people, when he said, "No, not now, whatever, I'm not going to do it," would just walk away and say, darn it.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, you kind of kept pushing and stuff. And I think that's so important, because in entrepreneurship and in your career as well, you're going to hear no all the time. And it's about pushing that little bit more, convincing that little bit more, and being able to pitch yourself so that you can get beyond no and get into doing something that is truly amazing. And I think you embody that, like that, your story like captures all of that. So thank you for telling that to us. I thought it was great. What do you think, Nadia? Pretty cool, huh?
Yeah, I'm so inspired, and I also have a few insights from this story. So first, I think that you mentioned is like work with someone you want to learn from, because that's how it started, right? You've been into your comfort zone and like, okay, I want to do more things. So you found this editor-in-chief you wanted to work with and started to learning from him. Also, what and I think it's really helpful for the entrepreneurs as well. Don't be scared to reach out to people directly, that you want to work with or you want to partner with, as you did as well. And as Troy mentioned, don't get no as an answer. So it's good to be proactive and even persistent, maybe sometimes for your career.
I would say in my case, I can only feel regretful when I didn't do anything. I rarely feel regretful when I did something wrong. But if I didn't do anything, I could start feeling it. And I'm so afraid of this feeling that in like 2 years, I would think, okay, I could have done that, but I never taken the chance.
Well, Anastasia, thank you so much for spending the time with us today. It's been great learning about your career and your pathway and just everything that you're doing. And I look forward to reading The Vivid Minds, because I think that's such a great topic for entrepreneurs. I'm very interested in it. Can't wait to dig into that. So thank you, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. You too.
Okay, we'll see you. See you, Nadia.
Bye-bye.
Bye.